All right, guys, today we have DuFour and Law Murray, and today we are celebrating Thanksgiving. It is Thanksgiving today, even though it's not really. We're filming this early. But we are talking about the things in the NBA we are most thankful for. And right off, this is Defend the Take. And so you guys will each have 1 minute to defend the take of these three prompts. The three prompts we have today is number one, who is the player you are most thankful for? Two, who is the team you are most thankful for? And three, what is the NBA related thing you are least thankful for? The way it'll work is each person will get 1 minute to share their side of the prompt, and then the other person will get a minute, and then we can just have a free discussion about who is correct and who is incorrect. But that being said, the first prompt today is who is the player that you are most thankful for this season? Um, Dave, since Law's the guest, I'm not going to make him go first. And so, Dave, you get to present your take in 60 seconds.
I think it has to be Nikola Jokic. For this guy to come off 3 straight seasons of being the best player in the world and to play the way that he has to start this season, I mean, it looks like what could be a 4th straight MVP level season out of him. Jamal Murray out, and he's having to carry the workload a little bit. Now, they're not winning the same pace that they do with Murray out there, but Jokic still producing like crazy, still throwing insane passes. And it also seems like his basketball relationship with his teammates has even improved. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Aaron Gordon made a great cut through the middle of the lane from the dunker spot and received an entry pass. And he and Jokic just communicated without speaking, and he made a nice touch pass to Jokic as he was cutting. That's a pass. It's a cut and pass I've never seen before. I mean, if you think about basketball, it's usually going the other way, and Jokic is usually the one throwing those passes. So it's good to see that some of Jokic's
Time. Okay, thank you, Dave. Law, you get to present your part. Go for it.
I thought Jason Tatum was going to be my MVP candidate going into the season. All he's done has been it's probably been his most efficient season, even though the volume isn't the same. Like he averaged 30 a game last year. He's down slightly as far as scoring goes, but shooting 50% overall from the field. So way better shot selection, still rebounding, still defending, still making plays for teammates. And of course, his team is atop of the standings in the NBA. And that's my case right there.
I will say right now, Law, I think Dave has the advantage because I think Nikola Jokic is just a better watch on television. And so considering that, you guys are free to discuss.
Well, listen, I mean, a made basket makes one guy happy, an assist makes 2. And Nikola Jokic gets a ton of assists. I mean, when you talk about basketball joy, that's the thing that I care about. And I think with Jokic, it's just, I mean, he involves the entire team. Jason Tatum, great player, great two-way player, underrated as a defender. I mean, he's an all-NBA level defender. We talk about his scoring a lot, but he doesn't involve his teammates the same way Jokic does. I just think it's like Sam just kind of said, it's a better watch. It's not so much dribbling. It's not so much, isolation basketball. You never know what's going to happen when Jokic touches the ball. And with Tatum, I don't know, man. I've seen all those training videos. I kind of know what he's going to do. He's just great at getting it done.
He is great at getting it done. And he's the way that Jason Tatum, I feel like his efficiency has to stand out because of the position that he plays, because of how he's being defended. I mean, it's funny how we'll be like, Nikola Jokic, they don't isolate or anything like that. And it's like, well, you don't have to isolate when you post up more than anybody in the league. And that's not an excuse. Nikola Jokic is someone who, again, I just got finished being in Denver and watching the LA Clippers actually do a really good job of forcing him to be as inefficient as I can remember him being, at least from a shooting perspective. But that's why it's hard to beat Jokic, because of his ability to make those passes and be able to just be so dominant inside where you have to bend your defense just on his presence alone.
And there's the difference. See, a post up is an isolation, and Jokic posting up in isolation still creates other looks for other people, or he can score. And that's the difference between him and Tatum. Tatum's not assisting tons off his isolation either. So, I mean, again, I think the game sort of speaks for itself here.
Law, if you were to vote for MVP today, 10 plus games into the season, who'd you vote for?
Jason Tatum. I said what I said earlier, man. Just because when he's on the floor, like Boston is really hard to beat, period. And I know that's the case for Jokic, but the thing with Jason is doing it from the wing position allows all those other players around him to also be really good on both ends of the floor. That's the Boston team that I've seen. I don't think it works when Jason's not on the floor. And the only difference between Tatum in Boston and Jokic in Denver is the record. I just think that, I'm going to give a shout out to the best player on the best team in the league right now.
Dave, would you agree?
I mean, best player on the best team, certainly that's Jason Tatum. I think it's way too early, obviously, to talk MVP. But he's in the mix. I mean, there's like 8, 9, 10 guys in the mix. I certainly think Jason Tatum's in there. But, if you're telling me I get to watch one basketball game for the rest of my life, is Tatum making my top 10 players that I get to choose from? I don't think so.
Is he making your top 10 Law on players to watch?
He probably is, to be honest with you. Probably is.
You'd have him behind Kyrie. You know it.
Well, I'm gonna have to give the point to Dave because I still think Nikola Jokic is the better watch. Second take today, the team you are most thankful for. Dave, you are free to begin.
Man, I really should say the LA Clippers because they keep giving us stuff to talk about, but I don't want to steal it from Law in case he's gonna use it.
You go ahead. You go right ahead.
No, you know what? This season, I'm gonna say the Philadelphia 76ers because they've been refreshing without James Harden. They've been, I think, a great story, a great surprise. They improved their team when they moved James Harden, in my opinion, getting some role players that fit nicely next to Embiid, and in particular, the growth of Maxey. I think he's a star. I think he's fun to watch play. The two-man game with him and Joel Embiid has just been fantastic. And Joel Embiid embracing his role as an offensive hub to the degree where, he's now averaging a career high in assists. The other night, he had 8 assists before his first turnover. This has just been an incredible season for him. That team in general, they protect the basketball, but they still score a lot. And so that's kind of unique. They shoot a lot of threes, but, and they get up down the court, but they protect the basketball. I like
Time. Okay, Law. Who are you taking?
Let me tell you a little story. And it is a very little story because I'm on a time limit. And you're enforcing it today, Sam. The Oklahoma City Thunder were dead last in field goal percentage and three-point percentage 2 years ago. They hired Chip England to be their shooting coach. This year, we're about a month in, they are number 1 in field goal percentage as of Monday morning. They are number 1 in three-point percentage. They are literally shooting 50-40 from the field in three, and they're basically tied at number 1 in free throw percentage, 86.7%. If you want to know why the Oklahoma City Thunder are so much better now, it's not just the talent, but that's a young team shooting incredibly well right now. So shout out to Chip England. He's a legend in San Antonio. He's about to be a legend in Oklahoma City if this keeps up all year.
Okay. All right. Feel free to debate this.
I think the Oklahoma City Thunder are a great story. But I just don't know if that shooting is going to hold up. Historic shooting numbers, which I don't want to make light of this early in the season. But again, this early in the season, I don't know that that's going to hold up. Meanwhile, the 76ers, to me, they look like a potential top 2, maybe, definitely top 3 team in the East, but top 2, depending on how things go for the Bucks and them, they're kind of finding their way now, but not all the way back. I think that the Sixers look more ready for May and potentially June basketball than they've looked in previous seasons at this point. They just got more guys. They're playing better on offense. And, they got Nick Batum. Law, firsthand, Nick Batum is a perfect 4th, 5th, 6th guy on a very good basketball team. And he's come in, been plug and play, and been great for them. And you see, that's a missing piece that they haven't had the past few years in the playoffs. So I just think that 76ers are just getting started. And so is OKC. But I would expect a drop off from where OKC is right now. And I think the 76ers might get better.
It's interesting. We're talking about 2 of the 3 teams with 10 wins already to start the 5th week of the regular season. The other one being Jason Tatum's Boston Celtics, of course. But it's interesting about what's sustainable and what's not. And, the Sixers are actually the team tied with the Thunder with that free throw percentage. But the reason why I'm buying OKC even a little bit more than Philly is because I just feel like OKC is actually a little bit more balanced than Philadelphia is. Philadelphia, they've been great under Nick Nurse. I think the offensive execution is what's really key in Philadelphia, and that should be sustainable as long as Joel and is on the floor, as long as Tyrese is continuing his emergence. But Oklahoma City, they're actually a little bit better defensively than they have been. They're a top 10 team on both ends of the floor. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's going to be in MVP talks very soon if he's not there already. Like what that dude is able to do as a ball handler, as a scorer, as a playmaker, in addition to Shet being able to comfortably just fill in and be himself. And turns out himself is just a high level of player right now. I think OKC, that team has the potential to get even better than what they are right now, even if the shooting tapers off from 50-40 territory.
I got a question. If you take Joel Embiid off the 76ers, you take Shai off the Thunder, which team has the better season?
Maybe OKC. I don't know. I mean, it's tough to say, right? Like the 76ers have had a hard time filling that Embiid hole when he's not out there. And as much as I love B-ball Paul Reed, he is not Joel Embiid. Let's just go ahead and be clear on that. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, like Law just said, that's a guy who's going to be in the MVP conversation probably this year. I mean, if we're talking about Jason Tatum today, we got to talk about Shai too, with what he's done so far this season. But it seems like they have guys that can at least replicate his skills. You've got J-Dub, who can handle the ball quite a bit, create shots for himself and theoretically for others. Josh Giddey obviously plays a lot of the nominal point guard for them. So as far as replicating the skills, they could at least get close to Shai. They've got people who could be like, C versions of Shai, whereas with Embiid and what he does, they don't even have a D in Philly. Mo Bamba, big fan of Mo Bamba. Ain't getting it done.
I'm going to disagree actually.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean you're supposed to. You're supposed to. You
I'll
gotta
help
fight.
you out, Dave. Like,
No, you're
I'm
supposed to disagree.
I'm gonna disagree just because Phillies played really well, not relying on Joel. Which I mean, again, Nick Nurse, you got to give a shout out to him. The further empowerment of Tyrese Maxey, not forgetting about Tobias. I just feel like OKC still has to show that they can still be a decent team when Shai's not there. Like they're not the same team. That's the case last year. That's why I was like, look, OKC has all these draft picks. They might want to, go ahead and cash that in, not be the Memphis Grizzlies. Obviously, the Memphis Grizzlies have issues that OKC does not appear close to touching. Yeah. But I still feel like OKC still has another level of get to from a personnel standpoint, just to empower the wing personnel and in case something does happen to Shai. Philly, there are obvious concerns if you don't have Joel, but I feel like Nick Nurse has prepared that team and the personnel they have to play without him if something does show up. And so it'll be interesting to see how that continues to play out over the course of the season.
I mean, any team, you take off their best player, and there's a huge drop-off. So, I mean, especially either one of these teams. Again, Joel Embiid won the MVP last year, is going to be in the MVP conversation this year. Shai probably going to be in that conversation this year. So, like, you take those guys out, they're both stinking. It's going to be awful.
Law, you are going to get the point because you were talking about three-point shooting, and that's all that matters in the league. And do you know what Chet is shooting from three this season?
I imagine it's pretty
high.
Pretty decent after what we saw. What was it, Saturday night?
He's shooting
a confident shot, man.
46%. And Joel Embiid is shooting 31.8%, so 32%.
Oh, come on.
So you were gonna get the point.
Diet matters. Diet matters. Chet Holmgren's the fourth option. Joel Embiid has everything running through him. Joel Embiid is Wilt Chamberlain. Besides
that fact, Law was gonna get the point until he deferred. and said the 76ers might be better
Then I
without
just
Joel Embiid than the Thunder without Shea. Because the way I was thinking about it was like, okay, Law has it in the bag. All he has to do is to convince me that if Shea got injured or traded or whatever happens, that the team would still be
Thunder.
watchable.
That OKC.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm
but
yeah,
you didn't say
I'm
that.
too
But
authentic
then,
for that
but
though.
look, but Dave also didn't pick the 76ers, so nobody gets the point. Nobody gets the point. This is horrible. This is horrible. All you guys had to do was stand on your ground, but you guys both deferred. So 0 points for this round. Final round. So Law has the chance to tie, or Dave can just clean sweep this with a 2-0 win.
I hope someone's keeping score of all of these throughout the weeks because it's amazing.
Final round. The NBA related thing you are least thankful for.
Look, I hate to beat a dead horse, but these in-season tournament courts just make it a hard sport to watch. And I'm not an alternate court hater by any stretch of the imagination. I think some of them are excellent, especially when they pay homage to like old stadiums. I love those. The Cream City stuff that they were doing up in Milwaukee was great. Obviously, the Vice stuff that they do down in Miami is fantastic. There's a lot of good and creative ideas that happen in the NBA. This isn't one of them. And it was obvious from the initial renders. And then some of these courts, when you're watching on TV, the abomination in Utah, it's hard to watch. You know, I actually care about watching the games, not just seeing a clip here and there. And so when you sit for, 12, 15 minutes of game time between commercials staring at some of these courts, it's bad. So that is the thing I'm the least thankful for.
Time.
Bad idea. Get rid of them. Get them out of here.
Time. Okay. Law, your 1 minute begins now.
I'll make that yours too. Let's go.
I ain't tripping about the courts. What I'm tripping about is people in this age of freedom and cold takes, they will trip. They will make these big statements about a team during a game. And if that team is the Phoenix Suns, here's the pattern. First three quarters, oh my God, look at how powerful they are. Look at how Kevin Durant is just the best offensive force. Like, they're going to be so good this year. And then the fourth quarter comes. And this team that does not have a very, how can I say it? Their offense is quite simplistic. And the simple part is KD leads the floor. I don't care if Devin Booker's been there, Bradley Beal's been there or not. That team always has a collapse. It's the worst fourth quarter team in the NBA. They are over 500 last time I checked, because they've been able to squeak out some of these games despite their incompetence. Their personnel choice, they decided, hey, you don't need a true point guard. That's cool. Devin Booker, he had a game where he had 15 assists,
Time.
Man, Law,
Just wait for your takes, man.
You
That's
really
all I'm
set
saying.
me up here, Law, because like I would argue us in the media should be thankful for the Phoenix Suns kind of having this issue to start the season, because it's more interesting and it makes us also look smarter when we say you've got to have players to complement your stars. You can't just have 3 stars and grab pieces off the scrap heap. Those of us who thought DeAndre Ayton getting moved for Nurkic was a downgrade for this team, and that maybe they should have held on to Ayton and seen if they could have gotten more or a more useful piece. So I've been thankful for the Suns because they're fascinating to me in a sense where they do have Kevin Durant, and I think he's played at such an incredibly high level and has played, and they've dealt with injury issues, which is forcing them to do some weird stuff in their lineups. Eric Gordon playing 40 minutes in a double overtime game against Utah in November, that kind of weird stuff. That's fascinating to me. It would be different if this was just boring and bad. I think that they at least is this Brooklyn 2.0 has been interesting to me. Versus the in-season tournament courts, which are just bad. I just irredeemable. So
I'm thankful for the conversation, but I'm just not thankful for everybody, not keeping that same energy at the end of Phoenix Suns games. Because what happens is you'll tweet about a Suns game, and then by the end of the game you'll be like, man, Jeremy Sohan was right.
Wait, so Law, to make it clear, are you not thankful about the Suns or Suns like takes?
The commentary.
Okay.
The commentary. Like, keep that same energy at the end of the game that she was telling us about through the first 3 quarters of these games.
Okay, okay. Um, quick question. Are the Suns actually just a mediocre team, or will they actually be good?
I think they'll be good. They're too talented, man. And I really hope that for real, I really hope Brad's okay because it's I mean, he's older. I think we always do this. A guy goes to a new team, and especially if they haven't been slandered for years, and Brad's on the other side. Brad's been on the free Brad, that side of the narrative because of all the things that he's had to deal with in Washington. I think people they're numb to the fact that, his availability hasn't been good, I got people who follow the Clippers. Every time someone sits for rest or has some weird injury come up, like they just put a photo of Kawhi and Paul sitting on the bench. Uh, Bradley Beal is sitting for load management, and then they just put a Kawhi and PG photo up because that was the narrative all summer. It's like, oh, those are the guys that sit and rest and are injured all the time. That's the joke. It's funny. What's not a joke is Brad's physical situation. I really hope that he's going to be okay because it has been an inauspicious start to his son's career.
Yeah, and back stuff, man. Like you just never want to see a professional athlete dealing with any back
Especially
issues.
at this point of your career, you know?
Yeah. Although, I mean, listen, man, he's out in Phoenix, so at least he won't have to deal with a whole lot of cold. It'll all be on the road, pretty good winter there. So hopefully it comes around. But that team is just not, it's a team that a lot of people on the internet like because it's a bunch of 10th and 11th guys, down the bench. And we love 10th and 11th guys, but not enough, fourth and fifth guys, a lot of Grayson Allen happening for the Phoenix Suns. And I guess I'm never thankful for Grayson Allen.
Okay. All right. Any final thoughts before I render my decision?
No.
Yeah, I'm going to say as an arbitrator, you really had a tie. Like, so I'm not sure how I'm supposed to take
Yeah.
that. And
He's
I'm the
like
one who
lost
has to.
authority
I
as the
gotta feel a
show's
certain
gone
type of
on.
way about it because I'm the one who I'm the one
All
who
right, Dave gets the point. I was gonna give Law the point and give him the tie, but no,
Yeah.
Dave gets the point.
Home court advantage, Law. Home court advantage.
I saw what it was. I knew I was on the in-season tournament court, and I had to I had to
Law, you
react
were gonna get the
accordingly.
point because you were talking about something that actually exists, whereas
Yep.
Dave, like, this is just I don't in-season tournament
It's
court. Like, does
they're
that even
awful.
exist?
They're
Yep.
awful. It's the thing I'm least thankful for.
I
I mean,
think
I could have
people just
said the
hate on it in
charge.
theory. I think they just
I
hate
could have
on
said
it in theory,
the
man.
block charge call.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
the
know.
thing that I'm actually probably the least thankful.
Dave, Dave, you were supposed to tie, but I don't know. Law ruined it for himself. But yeah, thanks for a great Thanksgiving, guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy
Thanks,
Thanksgiving.